Okay, in this video we will continue the beginner's guide to Pygame in Python. So if you're just starting out with this video, you will need to go to github.com, programming rainbow, beginner's guide to Pygame, and you will need to clone that repository. And since this is the fifth video, the final video, we will be using the code from the fourth video. So when you clone it and go into the directory, you will see the code for all the different videos. And we will be working with the code from the fourth video since this is the fifth video, so where we left off. Let me just show where we left off. That is, I don't want that. We want the code in the top level. So we have the text moving around the screen. We have the player sprite that we can control with the AWSD keys and the arrow keys. We can change the color of the background. And we have a title. And if you've seen the other video, we have an icon loaded for the window. In this one, we are going to add sound effects and we are going to add music and the ability to pause the music and pause and replay the music. Okay. So right away before we do anything, let's change this title up here to sounds and music. And we need to look at the mixer. So this is in the, if you are looking in the mixer section of the pygame.org docs, I'll just go back down to where I was. This is where we load. Oh, that's not where I want to be. Sorry. I want to be where the loading is. Or so it's, sorry, it's sound. I want to be here. Yeah. So to load a sound, you're going to use pygame.mixer.sound. And this just takes in the file name and it returns a sound object. Okay, so let's do that. So I'll show you the sounds that we're going to be using. There's two of them. One says Pygame and the other one says Python. So we'll just create both of those. And what we're going to do is they'll be called Pygame and Python. So I'm just going to name them the same. So Pygame, and the way we do it is with that pg.mix.sound. I think it's capital S on the sound. Mixer.sound, yep. And then we need the relative path to these sound files. So they are in the subfolder sounds. And this one is Pygame. And these are OGG files. So that one will load the sound file pygame.ogg. And since we're here, why don't we just load both of them? So I'm just going to copy this one, yank it, and then paste it down here. And this one is Python. And the file that we're loading is also called Python. Okay. So we have this two sound files loaded. Now, the way that we play them is we could actually type this out two different ways. So we could say Pygame mixer. How did I do it in the old? There's a very easy way and a more complicated. We could just say Pygame mixer.sound.play, and then we could pass in the name of the sound file, but that's completely unnecessary. What we returned back was a sound file, and there's a method on sound already, the sound file we have, that is just play. So we don't need to type in the whole thing and then pass in the name of the sound file we want. We can just tell the sound file to play itself. So that's going to be the most straightforward. So let's just try that. So Python. So since the text bouncing around the screen is named Pygame, I'm going to say when I press the space bar, I want it to say Python. And when we press the space bar, we're changing the colors of the background. So I can just in here, I can say self.python.play, and that should just work. So I'm going to check this, and I do hear it delayed, so I'm going to let it play a couple times.
Python, 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 Python.
Okay, that works perfectly. So we have it saying Python when we press the space bar to change the colors. We can where we're letting the text move around the screen. Every time it needs to change direction, we can have it say Pygame because that's Pygame text moving around the screen. So I can go self.pygame play, and we can just put this on each of them. And down here. Okay, so now it should say Pygame every time the Pygame text has to switch directions when it hits one of the walls. So let's try that.
Pygame, 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 Pygame.
Sounds like that's working. Okay, so we have sound effects and we have them playing. It's pretty simple and straightforward. But let's talk about music. So we also have it's a bit strange here. There is the mixer module, and then there's a music. So up here there is actually music, but when you click on it, it's kind of part of mixer. So we have a couple different things. This one's slightly different. We have the loading of music, but this one doesn't return us back a music object. It just loads in a single music file to be music. So let's look at this. See, it returns nothing. So we're loading a music, but we don't need to capture anything from it. We don't need to save it in a variable. We just need the file name that we're loading. So if you actually look in my code, I'm actually capturing it in a self music, but it's unnecessary because it doesn't capture anything. So it's going to be PG mixer music load, and these are all lowercase. And then we need the relative path to the music. So I'll show you the music we're playing. And the music we're playing is the Free Software Song by Richard Stallman. And this is the 8-bit version. And it's in the music subfolder. And this is also an OGG file. Okay, so that loads the music, if I have spelled it correctly, Free Software Song. And to play it, there is a function that was just below the, so I'm just going to show a couple of these functions here. We have the loading, we have the play, and another one I'm going to use is the get busy. It checks to see if the stream is actually playing, and the pause and the unpause. So these are all the methods that we're going to be using on this. So the play, if we look at this one's important for the loops. So we can tell it how many times we want it to loop, but I want it to loop infinitely. So I'm actually going to pass in a -1. I'm not sure if it's documented here. Yeah, the music repeats indefinitely if the argument is set to -1. So we're going to use this right here. We don't need to pass anything into it, but just the -1. We don't need to pass in the music file or object or anything. It basically has its internal state that we already have a music loaded. Now we can play it. So let's do that. Now where I'm going to tell it to play is going to be right down before the game loop. So when we're doing the game run, right before the loop happens, I'm going to tell it to play. So this will be PG mixer music dot play, and we'll put in the -1 here. I'm just going to save this and see if we have music.
Pygame. Pygame.
Yep, that is music. So what we want to do now is to be able to pause the music, or, so we don't have to have it playing if we don't want to listen to it. So we looked at those other methods, and basically the get busy just returns if the music is playing or not. The pause pauses it, and the unpause unpauses it. So that's all really straightforward. So what we need is just another method that can do that. So below this update sprite, I'm just going to add in another method, and we'll call it pause music. I'm going to say if, and we'll get the get busy. So it'll be the PG mixer music dot get busy. So if it's busy, if it's playing, we're going to pause it. Oops, I didn't put a colon in that. And then we'll just put an else on here. This is just going to act as our toggle to either pause it or unpause it when we press a button. So basically, whenever this method is called, if it's playing, it's going to pause. But if it's not playing, it's going to unpause it. So the next time you press it, it's a toggle. It's going to turn it on or off, or not on or off, but pause it and unpause it, because it'll continue from where it left off. So it's not actually stopping the music; it's just pausing it. And what we want to do is we want to be able to call this from the M key, so we can say mute the music. So we're already checking cases on escape and space. So we'll put it here. This will be PG K underscore small m. And we just call the method that we made. Pause music. And that should allow us to pause the music from playing. So I'm going to launch it, but I'm going to pause it like right away within a second.
Pygame. Pygame.
Okay, I'm going to unpause it.
Pygame. Pygame. Pygame.
And pause it.
Pygame. 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 Pygame.
Okay. So I'm hearing a little bit delayed, that's why. So we basically have loaded our music. We played it automatically right when the game, when the game run is being called. And then we are pausing it and unpausing it whenever we press the M key. Okay. So let's just kind of walk through everything we've done here. We have loaded sound effects and saved them as Pygame and Python. And we have loaded up the music with a music file, but we don't save that to anything. And then to play the sound effects, we just call our own method of play, and that works just fine. And we're also doing it here as well, and they can play on top of them themselves. They can play multiple sounds on top, that's fine. And then to play the music that we loaded, we're going to do that right before the game loop starts. And we're putting a -1 in as an argument to tell it to loop indefinitely. So every time the music ends, the song ends, it replays automatically. So that's playing, but then we're also checking in our event loop if we've pressed the M key. If we've pressed the M key, that is going to call this toggle function that is going to either toggle the music to a pause state or to an unpause state. So it'll either pause or resume the music playing. And all the music stuff is well, they're all in Mixer, but the music stuff specifically is in another one called Music, even though it's still like Mixer um, dot music. But it's pretty easy to follow. Okay, so I think that's everything that we have for this one. Did we title it correctly? Yep. Okay. And there's nothing else going on. So I hope you enjoyed that one. That's kind of everything that you need to be able to kind of create objects and sounds and load sprites and move them around the screen. All the basics that you need to get up and running with Pygame. And then you can use this to make games. Hope you enjoyed that. And again, thanks for watching, and bye.